Hey, thanks for listening. Jason Bailey, Southside Steve. It's Rock 100.5 in studio. And Kevin, I always hate to say this with people that have these types of titles in the military when I say former Navy SEAL Team 3 sniper Kevin Lacz, because I'm guessing once a Navy SEAL team member, always a Navy SEAL team member, correct?
Yeah, for the most part, we try to keep it going.
Yeah, it's like when you say you're
even when you're retired, you keep it going.
I'm not retired. I didn't do 20 years, so I did my 8 years and then got out. But once you're a team guy, you're always a team guy.
So they could call on you at any time.
They can't.
Could they call right now? Could they call right now? Would you help out?
My phone number's unlisted.
Is it? You look like you're still in shape, man. You're wearing a suit that looks like it was painted on you.
I might be the only guy that showed up to the radio interview with a suit on.
Dude, is he dressed nice or what?
I noticed that. I was expecting you because I've seen other interviews with you, Kevin, on television, and just have a nice golf shirt on or something. I'm like, oh man, he's all dressed up. I should have dressed better today. I was like, God almighty, I feel so underdressed.
I thought you were coming in 80s gym shorts and just boom.
No, I'm just trying to keep it classy.
All right, man.
Very well done. Well played, sir. You have a new book, The Last Punisher. This is a SEAL Team 3 sniper's true account. This is the battle at how do you say that? Was it Ramadi?
Damn it.
Which is on Amazon.com. Now, walk us all through your time there because it kind of meshes in with the movie with Bradley Cooper and, of course, the late Chris Kyle as well.
Sure, yeah. So The Last Punisher actually chronicles, me joining the Navy, the reason why. Post 9/11 kind of left me at a crossroads. I didn't know what I was going to do. I was going to James Madison University. And I talk about being a brand new guy, getting, obviously going through BUD, SEAL qualification training, and then getting to SEAL Team 3, meeting Chris, getting my nickname, and then what it's like to be a brand new guy in a SEAL platoon as a sniper and jump into one of the gnarliest battles of the Iraq War, which was the pre-surge Battle of Ramadi. And I walk through, that naivete when you stroll into combat and then a week in, you're already in battle mode, ready to rock, and just the experiences you have. The first time you interdict a target, the first time you see somebody in your platoon get shot, and that whole visceral experience, which is combat.
It's like that first bullet. Once it whizzes by you, you're like, okay, this is for real. I mean, there's nothing that can prepare you for that. You don't know how you're going to handle it, but I would think a Navy SEAL is going to handle it better than anybody.
Well, we try to. We talk about the 2% in the book. So Lieutenant Colonel Dave Grossman has this theory called killology, that if you take all the people in the military, get rid of all the crazy people, but there's 2% that can go into combat, interdict targets, come back and transition seamlessly. And we wanted to explore that theme in the book, The Last Punisher. And I think we did a good job. You see a lot of things in combat, and I really wanted to emphasize with the book, SEALs didn't win the Battle of Ramadi alone. It was the Air Force, the Marines, the Army, all of us collectively won that battle, and that's what turned the tide of the war in Iraq.
I love the 2%. So the 2% is not affected, can go home, have a normal relationship with their wife. They're very, very good at what they do it better than anybody else, and it's not affected. That's what the 2% is?
Basically, yes. And, after working on American Sniper, I got a lot of, people came up to me, they're like, I'm sorry you had to do that. And I was like, what, work on a movie set? I had a great time with Clint. And they're like, no, I'm sorry you had to go to combat and experience all that. And it kind of like bristled me. I struck me the wrong way. And I said, I enjoyed doing that. That's why I did it. And with The Last Punisher, we wanted to explore that because after American Sniper, people say, you have to be affected, and I'm not. But I do feel that PTSD is an important issue. We need to keep that for, people that have PTSD, give them the right treatment. But if we go ahead and assume that everybody has PTSD having served in combat, we do a disservice to those that have it, and we dilute it. And that's what we wanted to hit with The Last Punisher.
With your job, Kevin, like even before, like after your first deployment, let's just say, was your job as a Navy SEAL team member? I mean, this is like the upper echelon of the military. I mean, that's a fact. I mean, it ain't easy. I've had friends that have tried to be Navy SEAls, and they are badasses, but just it
is the top, though, right?
It's the top.
It is the top.
You would get a call in the middle. Is this how it works? You get a call, just say, hey, you got to leave, and your family, and you just say, I have to go. You can't give them any details. You just have a bag packed, and you leave like pretty much in the middle of the night. Is that pretty much the job before you get to battle? When you're stateside, and you get a call and say you got to go.
You know what? I may need to preserve the myth, but that's what we say when we have to get out of the house to go drink with our buddies.
I'm about to say
your wife's here too.
You got a wife on the couch, and dude, that's the best thing in the world. Say, honey, look, I'm still in. There's going to be times where at 1 a.m, I got to just
in the middle
leave.
of the night.
You're down the road playing Golden Tee with your buddies, and you're like,
I'm undercover. I'm going to be drinking.
you know what? They canceled the war. I got back early. But that's pretty much how it works, right?
Where we were at, we planned to work up, so we would spend, it's about a 2-year cycle where we would train. You go through these specialty schools, go through sniper school, breacher school, and then you would do 6 months of workup. So each block of training, MAR ops, close quarters combat, and then we would do this certification exercise where they deemed if we were good enough to go overseas, and then we deploy. So we kind of had a set mission as when we were going to.
Well, that's such a compliment to you. And again, talking with Kevin Lace with a Z, and your lovely wife here on the couch with, by the way, good toes. I just want to say that you got good feet. That matters. I don't know whether you know it or not, but it does.
You're kind of like Rex Ryan right now.
I know it's a little weird. I apologize, but I just want to say that for you have a wife, but in the movie American Sniper, which, again, you were a part of. You worked with Bradley Cooper on this and everything because you played the role. You were the spotter with Chris next to him, correct? And in that situation, you see Chris talking about his wife. You see him talking about she's going to have a boy. You hear the guy saying, yeah, man, we're getting married. What do you think of this ring and everything? Isn't it almost the toughest thing in the world to be involved with a beautiful lady or have a family and do what you guys do? I mean, that's to me, I would want to be single as hell, not thinking about anybody if I'm doing that.
Well, the good thing about The Last Punisher, I was single at the time. I hadn't met Lindsay yet. And
so you were there, no girlfriend, you're just over there?
No strings attached, nothing.
Good.
My main focus was the team, and I really wanted to bring that out, how important the brotherhood is. And, looking back at it now, having kids, having a wife, having a family, it's difficult. I leave for a couple of days to go, on to speak, and I leave my kids, and I can't imagine, putting myself back in those experiences, having so much at home and leaving that.
Yeah, because Chris is there with his kids. You see that, even though that was a horrible baby, we all know that baby was fake.
Fake baby.
Fake baby.
That was bad. That was a whole really.
Bailey came in immediately because Bailey saw it before I did, and he goes, "You're not going to believe this fake baby." But I mean, the guy has to leave his family, and he wants to be there for his brotherhood. But doing 4 tours and leaving your kids, that's the part that's got to be tough.
As a sniper, you have a spotter, and then the guy that pulls the trigger, right?
No, so
yeah, tell us how that works.
And a lot of the misconceptions are you have a spotter in the SEAL teams. We're all individual snipers and spotters. So you do your own windage and elevation corrections. You do your own spotting, and we are a single unit. So when we would deploy, we'd have multiple snipers.
Yeah, what is it?
I was the dude laying next to him.
I don't want to sound morbid, but I'm curious. Knowing that you were coming in today, one of the things that popped in my head, Kevin, was, as I've seen the movie, right? Seen the movie with Bradley Cooper, and Chris Kyle's there, and at the end, of course, he gets the Hollywood version. He gets the ultimate bad guy, however many yards away. But looking through that scope and seeing your target, and they don't see you, and that it's a kill. Do you remember the first time that happened and the feeling that you had?
Absolutely. I think it's chapter 5.
Oh, okay. So it's in the book.
We go into detail on that. I think a lot of people, we kind of make it a bigger deal than it really is. And I don't say that lightly. I joined in response to terrorism. So it
was 9/11 that got you.
It was 9/11 that got me. So when you deploy, this is what you're going to do. And I think with being a team guy, you sign on the dotted line, you go through all this training, and you realize I will meet the enemy eventually. And it's a business deal, and it sounds what it is. There are bad guys. They're fighting for their cause. We fight for our cause. Let the better warrior win. And, you have to be able to shrug it off and do it again and again and again, because that's why they pay you to do that job. And they are bad people. And I think a lot of people fail to realize how bad they are. I mean, we saw what happened in Nice last night.
Right.
We see what happens in Istanbul and Orlando. And, we don't hear on the radio or we don't see on TV, we have bad people that take bombs, put them on handicapped women and children and walk them into, these crowded areas and command detonate. And it's savage, it's brutal. And those are the people we hunt down.
And speaking of that, hunt down, and again, we saw it in the movie, and you do get glimpses of this. How can we, and this is probably a tough question, I'm tired of the conflicts. I'm from Vietnam on, Korean War, World War II, we won a war. How in the hell do we win a war?
Well, we used
being
to,
somebody-
we used to win wars.
How do you do it now?
You know, I was listening to General Flynn last night on TV, and we used to win wars because we would do total warfare. We would do whatever we had to do to bring the enemy into submission, and we've kind of lost that. We've lost that for political correctness. We've lost that for collateral damage. We've lost that for the images that are so brutal, which is war. You know, people don't want to see that. And with The Last Punisher, we want other veterans to tell the story of what they've gone through and why they've done it, because less and less people know how savage and brutal the enemy is. And if you don't understand your enemy, you're never going to defeat your enemy. You know, with Al Qaeda, we lose sight. We're talking about ISIS, right? ISIS is the big deal, but Al Qaeda continues to grow in 90 plus countries throughout the world. You know, terrorist attacks are constantly happening. 280 in Baghdad last week. You know, it's happening over and over and over again until we realize this is a global war and we're involved. It's just not demarcated with like countries and like uniforms and air power and all that stuff. It's a global war, and until we realize our threat, we're never going to defeat it.
Does the military, you know, the guys that you still talk to, maybe that are still in service and whatnot, are they for the most part like, look, dude, just take the chains off. Let us go. Let us do what we have. We know what we have to do. We can end this.
And half our country thinks like that. Maybe more than half. Which is why you see certain people may be president of the United States. I mean, there is a lot of people that are just fed up and like, let's win the damn thing. I mean, this PC world we live in, you can't do that over there.
To answer my question, is that what the military think?
Yeah, for your listeners, you know, don't forget, the operators on the front lines are getting the jobs done. They're doing it day in and day out. At night, you know, they're going after them. They're doing it. But what is not happening is that, you know, what worked in Ramadi that we talk about is the clear hold build. We had the conventionals on our side, so we could clear. We'd go in there, kill all the bad guys. They would hold, and then we'd build and increase that footprint. We're not doing that now. Why? Because we don't want to admit who our enemy is. We don't want to go ahead and call these people out and call them, you know, this is Islamic terrorism. And we are afraid of the repercussions in the global world as to our actions.
Is that important to use the name? I think it is.
Absolutely.
Because you got to know who it is, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
And that probably upsets individuals like you who are American heroes to say, look, I gave my life for years against these idiots, and nobody's calling them what they are.
You know, any American that's worn the uniform and has fought and, you know, bled, sweat, tears, you know, in sand, wherever you fight, having to relinquish that land, you know, in the name of politics has to be angering. And, you know, we can win wars. We have won wars. We will win wars, but you have to be able to identify who and what your enemy is if you're going to defeat them.
All right, hang on. You're not going to go anywhere, right? You got dressed up for us?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, seriously, you know.
All right. Kevin Lacz in studio with us. New book, The Last Punisher, on Amazon.com. We'll talk more with Kevin here in just a minute. It's Bailey and Southside Rock 100.5. Let's go.